Okay, so at the spray booth, I thought we'd have a proper look down in here. As you can see, we are, just click that a minute, there we go, all done. And it's got that nice, still glossy look to it. It's very, very smooth. We don't have any rough textures or anything else like that. You know, so actually we're pretty much exactly where we want to be. Underneath, again, as you can see, we've got this lip running right the way round, and we've done this internal one in here. I'm not going to unmask it because we might have to do other things yet, but hopefully you can see that's looking very nice. So hopefully when we do pull that out, we have a nice white line and we're good to go. We've got all the various bits under here, nice, good, sharp line in all of these. So we're pretty much sorted to go on with the top coat. This side, obviously, we haven't gone too far in there because obviously we're going to go in with the green, all right? So, camo work. A couple of ways of obviously doing something else like this. We spoke about the difference between soft edge and hard edge camo. Hard edge camo means it's a perfect line, okay? It's a nice sharp line. Soft edge camo, obviously it's feathered. Soft edge camo, as I said before, you can do it with tack worms, you can do it with obviously masking by having it a little bit lifted so you get a diffused area, or you could do it freehand. Hard edge camo, you literally want to use tape, you know, so it gives that nice pure cut edge. And to be honest, all Vulcans, as you can see down in here, have this hard edge camo to it, all right? So it does make it quite easy. Now, there is companies out there who actually do masking sets for this, and you can literally, you know, just go off, order them in, peel them off, sticker them on there, and you're good to go. Again, from our point of view, we're going to cheat and do it the cheap way. So what we've got is our Vulcan, as you can see down in here. We've got this bit here. What we want to do is a mask set from here to transfer onto this one, all right? So from my point of view, my photo printer copier thing does everything in one, and luckily you can enlarge your prints. So basically, we just cut this over to this, again, and then obviously I just photocopied this and I went up around about 200% and we ended up with this again. So what you do is you come along, if we pop it onto the underside, you can see it's not quite to the right scale. When you come along here, you can see down here, it's not in exactly the same scale. So then it's just a case of going through, and I'm sure if you're a mathematician and really good at this, you could just turn around and say, okay, we can. So we went up a little bit more, and to be honest, that's not quite big enough. And then we went up and up and up, and I just played with it a little bit, and we ended up with this one at 245% enlarged of this original image down in here, gives us this. What this then does, if we do it on the underside, as we can see, is a perfect fit now for this one on the top. So when you put this to the edge, we go onto the edge here, you can see it is down on there just like that again. And then obviously we've got other ones that we can then come along on here, and we can just place this on like this, as you can see. And we've got, to be honest, other ones down on here. We've got one for in here, exactly the right scale. There we go. And to be honest, we've got another one just down in here. So that gives us our perfect Vulcan now. So we can use this as a template. Now, if you've been back and you watched some of my older videos, we did a Splinter camo F18 Hornet, a 48 scale F18 Hornet, which we are going to do in exactly the same way as this again. So that's exactly what we're going to do. So this on here, as you can see, it's a little bit patchy. It's nothing massively over the top. You know, it's one of those things, you catch it in the light, you'll see it. Again, but it's got a nice finish onto all of this one. So what we can do now is obviously put the green work onto it. So if we start off, what we're going to need to do then is basically mask up we do it on this side, we need to mask the grey. Again, because then the grey will then just be put onto here, and then obviously we're going to put the green work in, and then because it's masked, we can do all the work to this then of going along and obviously putting in the faded areas and lightening off the green and things like that. All right, so easiest way of doing this is 40mm Tamiya tape, purely because it's cheap. And you know, you could, if you wanted to, just do the outline. So you could just put a little bit of an outline in here and do it, so forth and so on. But to be honest with you, I think it's easier to take this, and I have got some on a roll, which would be easier to get off of the thing. So what we're going to do is, you can think about the best way of attacking this. You can either do it this way and work up, okay, just by placing it down over the top, or you can come up from underneath, so forth and so on, whichever way you want to go through it. So you can draw it on, you can cut it on, you can do all the things. What I would do though is take a little bit of bite out of the Tamiya tape. So we're just going to put it on the underside of the hand here. I'm going to work it from this panel line just here. Again, right on there. And we're not pushing it down too hard because we need to peel this off. And then again, I'm just going to grab the next bit. Again, pick up some oils underneath the arm. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're just going to come over onto here. That's it. And then what we're going to do is, you can obviously do this then all in sections or in any way you want to do it again. So what we'll do is we're just going to come down in here. Okay. Tell you what, I wasn't going to do it right to the top, but seeing as we're here, I probably will now. Originally I was going to sort of go like this. Bit of a hash on this, but hey ho. Okay, so once you got this down on here, you can take a pen. Let's find a pen, make sure we're working. Again, and then all we're going to do is just going to come up with some areas. So I'm just going to put in some of the lines in like this. And then what we're going to do is obviously the camo pattern itself. Just going to come around in here and we're just going to sketch the outline of it all. Just down in here, and then again. Just up around in here. Because all we want out of this is the grey. And again, what we're going to do is we're going to put the lines in as well where this ends, so we know where it should come off. So again, we're into these areas here, and we're into these areas as it will be here. Could do with a bit more on that one, to be honest. And then again, we can just come up around here. Around in here, and then again what we're going to do is we're just going to put in some little lines so we know where the flaps and the various things are, just so we can, if you wanted to, line up some of the panel lines, because we know we're roughly at the right scale, so you can just line these up. So we just put some dots in just so we can see how it should be. And these sort of go around in here, and again this will just aid you for doing lineup and various things, so you don't have to do them all, but I think it will just, as I say, just help out a little bit. Again, just in there like that, and again it's just literally for lineup and various things. Just have another one through there. Alright, so that's all on there like that, so we've got a rough outline of how all of this is going to be, and then again that's going to be your areas, your various things on there. All right, so what you can do then is grab your sheet, again we'll redo that one at the top. Again, we can just place this down in here now, very lightly, not rubbing it down too hard or anything else like that. Then we can take our knife, and again hopefully you can still see how all of these bits are going to sort of go along, and how they're all going to hang out. And then what we can do is we can literally just come in like this. Again, you just want to keep it as swinging lines rather than anything too jagged. Okay. And again, keep your other bits and your bits and pieces, just like that. And then hopefully what we can do is, again, if you're putting your paper down, you just want to always keep coming up from the other side. And you could, if you wanted to, use like a piece of acetate to do this. And we're going to come along with our wing. And then literally we've just got to line up all of these down on here. So I think, and again, hopefully this is where putting those pencil lines in for the panel lines and all the bits and pieces should help out. So I'm just trying to work out the ones we've got here. I should have put some vertical ones in this, but to be honest, I forgot. Again, I think we're roughly there. And again, it doesn't have to be 100%. 95 will be fine. Never good, don't want it really folding back on itself. Okay. Hopefully you can see how the panel lines are lining up with everything we've got down in here, or certainly just as much. We can have a little bit of wiggle room, and then obviously we can just smooth those all in a little bit, just like that. And again, we know for a fact this corner just needs a tiny little bit on this one, because when we were doing it, so this bit here literally is just going to go in there, so we can wrap around these bits just down in here, and that is how we're going to be doing that. So there we go, that's how we're transferring that across to there. So it all looks to be pretty good. So what I'm going to do now is just repeat this right the way across. So literally place it down on here, put it all in, everything else like that, and you're good to go. Keep these bits, don't let them stick to each other because they don't like coming apart, but keep them, because if you've got to do any touch-up work, so you can come back now with this and say you've unmasked it and it's not right, you can pop this down onto it and touch it back in. So don't throw away your lefty over bits, because again, they'll come in quite handy for actually how you go through. But this is just a cheap, easy way of technically making a mask set to go on this one. So the next one, to be honest, we'll do over here. That's going to go down into this area just in here, and we can line these up with the ones we've already got to put the next ones in. Then we can do the other wing, so forth and so on, until we've got it all masked over. Right then, so after about an hour of masking up, we have now got it all done. And again, pretty much, it's really handy if you do put these in. It doesn't have to be exactly as it is, because I'm sure my scaling is probably not 100% correct, but it's close enough for what we need. So some little areas we had to do a little bit of joining here. The tail is a little bit sort of, yeah, I've made that sort of fit, things like that again. And again, down in these intakes, it's really important to make sure you mask up the grey bit down in here, as we've done in here as well, all right? Also, making sure you've got the over wrap on the undersides again. And what we're going to do is we're just going to pop another little bit of tape just down under here, because if we got any overspray of the grey, that's not a problem, because to be honest we need a bit of that. But what we don't want to do is get green on this, because it's just going to look a little bit odd. So we're just going to extend our masking just down a little bit more, just to make sure we don't get any green, because we've got to put green down under here, a little bit here. Obviously this one has it. Over here there's not much at all, but there is bits and pieces of it here, there and everywhere. All right, so we just want to make sure we've got nice masking, and also making sure your masking tape does wrap all the way around on these said areas as well. So, you know, literally it's just making sure you got all the parts covered as you want to get them done, because obviously this is the sort of make or call break. But like I've always said, even if this goes slightly awry and, you know, not exactly what we were thinking or perhaps what we were after, it's not a problem, because you can just go back with that original color and just bounce back and forth between each types, you know, so you can literally just get in there and take those up. I think that's pretty much what we need. I'm going to do one little bit along here, a bit more, because we've got quite a bit on this section on there. And if you wanted to, you could use your offcuts and your overruns and your various things like this, just to make sure you've got all of these covered up. So what we can do, get over to the actual spray booth, let's get the green on. Right, okay, so over we are. Big thing to remember, we speak about it a lot, but you can't sort of say it enough. Make sure all these edges are pushed down. If you're using the 40mm Tamiya tape, it has a habit of puckering up. You might be able to see it just down here on the nose, how it's puckered up. That's why, to be honest, I'm not a fan of the 40mm. It's great for doing this type of job, but any other thing else, the 18mm is definitely the way to go. So just making sure they're all pushed down. We are going to do it somewhat in sections. So if we just move our little things out of the way, what we got here is very low of, we just need to top up our bottle here of quick rapid drying thinners. So really no different from how you do everything else, apart from this type of tape, it doesn't tend to bleed as long as you don't flood it. So you don't really want to put down a massive wet coat on this. What you do want to put down is a nice dusty coat, just to get it all dried in the edges, then come over and make it more glossy right the way through. Now the big thing to remember on this one is that later on we're going to put down a satin coat right the way over it, or if bordering on glossy, purely because that's what they were like. But because we need to weather it, we need something to weather into grip to. So down in here, standard 50-50 mix. And so you're not going to need tons and tons of it, but we are going to need quite a bit because it's a larger scale model. Alright, so that should be ample for what we need. Usual thing, can't quite see it bleeding through onto the bristles like we would do a thin coat. That's exactly what we're after. Let's put the top on that. Put the tops on everything, because waving this thing around. Okay, so what we're going to do is we'll just show you one and then we'll mask up and get going with all these different areas. All right, so again, check it, making sure you're happy of how it's all laying, making sure it's all scrunched properly down, making sure you've got nothing wrapped over and folded over the edges as well, so you're all nice and clean. That front end, what I'm going to do is hold it by the front, to be honest, and we'll do the rest. So same thing as always, we're just going to start with a nice light coat, quite high air pressure, just to sort of get it going. And also, if you're shooting 90 degrees straight down, you shouldn't really have a problem. So again, we're just building it all up, working our way around the areas. Literally just like that. Okay, so what we're going to do is work our way around everywhere. Just going to hit the extractors. Okay, so that's all looking pretty good. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to mask up and we're going to go through now with a heavier coat. So when we say a heavier coat, we're not flooding still. We're not going for a fully wet finish, but obviously we want to make sure we're covering. Okay, so that's one colour cut gone. Okay, so there we go. We have one green Vulcan all set, ready to go. So what we're going to do, let that dry just for a couple of minutes, and then we're going to add a little bit of the insignia white, the creamy white, into this, and we're going to lighten it and do exactly the same as what we did to the grey to sort of feather the colour a little bit.